I'm here with Chris Pellettieri, who has a profession that has always fascinated me, but I've never actually met one of you. You're a stone carver.
Yes, I'm a stone carver.
Nice
it's great to meet
Chris.
you, Rajiv.
And we're here at the New York Public Library, which is on Fifth Avenue, in between 41st and 42nd Street. And this is, what do you think of this in terms of stone carving?
I love this building. It is one of my favorite buildings in the whole world. And even though people have been carving stone for thousands and thousands of years, there have been low points and high points. And for New York City, for the United States, the era when this building was built, definitely the high point.
Yeah. Every time I pass it on my bike, it makes me smile.
Yeah.
In all seasons.
You enter and you feel like you're an important person. Just walking in the door, you feel like, they let me in here?
Yeah.
I must be pretty special.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the power of stone. Stone and then manipulated by human hands.
Absolutely.
So I have a question for you, Chris. Often I'm walking around New York City and I see pre-war buildings, and sometimes they're so ornate. And then I look closely and I can't figure out whether it was a cast or whether it's carved stone. Were they actually casting things as well?
Absolutely. I mean, there's terracotta ornament is very common, prevalent. Mm-hmm. It's another alternative to carved stone, carved marble. That's clay. Mm-hmm. Often it would be shaped by mold. So, you can imagine how much more economical that is to produce something that's made in a mold, clay, baked in an oven. Very durable, very hard. And it can be difficult to tell from a distance whether what you're looking at is stone or terracotta.
But there's a lot of actual carved stone in this city, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, what kind of work do you do? Because you do some architectural stone carving, right?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that as we were setting up, because there are specializations, or there were specializations, and some fields are expanding and some fields are contracting, like sports. Think about sports, all the energy and enthusiasm around sports in the world today. You could be like a one sport person, not only that, but a one positioned in one sport. Whereas you go back 100 years and sports wasn't as big and juiced up as it is now.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody would play 3 sports and be able to play whatever, any position. Same with medical, the specializations. When you look at a building like this, you're looking at a team. Yeah, I mean, of course, there's different materials. It's not all marble, and this is granite here, so it's not just one type of stone. But there are different kinds of specializations involved in the creation, say, of a statue, a human figure, as opposed to the geometrical volumes.
Yes.
That's stone masonry.
Yes.
And not I'm talking about the putting it together. That's what most people think of about masonry today, as assembling blocks. But stone masonry is the shaping of the blocks, but geometrical, rigid, according to templates. There's no creativity on the part of the person shaping the stone. They're accurately shaping it according to templates that architects create. So that's stone masonry, that's sculpture. But even before the sculpture, even before it's transformed into marble, another specialist would be the guy who makes the clay model. And he might not ever get involved with stone or bronze, metal.
Yep.
He might be just limiting his creativity to the clay.
Yeah.
And then handing it off to other artisans like the lions here, the other artisans who would actually shape the marble according to the model that they've been given. And they're not being creative, they're being technically mastery and being able to duplicate something in another material, but they're not deciding, should the mane be fluffier, should the tail be long? Those decisions have been made, and their skill is just in measuring and very accurately duplicating.
Yeah.
So there's multiple, it's a team project with different positions. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something we don't think about today, and I think one of the reasons is you don't see people carving stone in public. When I'm walking around New York, I've been here for 13 years, and I can count on one hand the amount of times I've seen someone working with stone. And when I do, it's
or shaping any material.
Yeah, it's true. But
when
stone
you do,
specifically, when I do, it's usually a few people together at the same time doing something very simple. Like I saw someone once shaping the top of the balustrade.
Yeah.
Because it's angled like this
Right.
to shed the rainwater.
Yeah.
And they were doing it by hand, and I thought, look at that. I mean, it was a marvel to see it being done by hand.
We are very far removed from, even though it's only been maybe 150, 200 years since almost all of our ancestors were hands-on craftsmen of one kind or another. Within a short period of time, we've driven that almost to the margins where people are like, people do that?
Yeah.
I've never known how these things, because it's just out of people's consciousness.
And because they've never seen it being done, they've never been told about it, I don't even think someone would look at this and think twice about, was this done by hand?
Probably, yeah.
This is the sort of thing that I stop and I see these things and I am still blown away. Look at this curve here. Look at this curve here and how it comes out. This could have been done much easier in two pieces. There could have been a block of stone that was laid down for the seat that was flat, and there could have been a block of stone that was laid down for the back, which butts up in a 90-degree angle. The amount of work that it would have taken to create this curve didn't just persuade the architects to design it in another way.
They wouldn't have thought of doing that because it's like that's not the way stone is handled. And if you look at a wooden frame, where the moldings meet like that, they miter it. They cut at 45 degrees and join, which makes sense in wood.
Wood, exactly.
But in stone, that's a no-no. Although in modern times, they've kind of decided it's so much easier to shape a long, straight run of molding on a machine. And we can cut at 45 degrees and join them like that. It's okay. And you look around, maybe we'll see one when we walk, of when you make a knife edge, a sharp edge like that, and somebody bumps into it with a stroller or a cargo wagon, it gets smashed up.
Yeah.
90 degrees is strong, but 45 degrees is not so strong. So you'll see a lot of places where the modern work looks really bad. But
look at this.
When it's done this way,
this is not
a
joint. This is carved. But even this is the thing about stone. It feels like a forever material. Yeah. It feels inherently, because we know it has been here long before any of us were here, and this will still be here long after the city is in ruins. Even when this is we see it in the apocalyptic movies. Yeah. When the city is falling apart and the zombies are all walking around staring like this.
There's a big demand for my services on apocalyptic movies.
Totally. Statues broken and fallen on the side, but it's a remnant of another time. And for me, the beauty of this is we interact with it. Yeah. I am sitting here, and my big fat bottom is like
cradled. It's caressed by the granite.
Exactly. But this is the thing. We're interacting with stone on a regular basis all over the city.
Walking on it.
I was going to say, it's not only under my seat, but it's under my feet. And this step, even these steps, the hierarchy of all of this stone going from the cornice to this flat surface to this base over here, all these transitions were designed and planned proportionately so that stepping from the street level, where everything is normal, you gradually elevate yourself to the highest form of human existence, which is elevation of the mind. And that's what this building personifies. It is ideas, it is the thoughts, it is the progression of our civilization over thousands of years, sacredly housed in a stone building. And that's why this was designed this way. There's a reason why we go from very simple blocks here with no ornamentation to, if you look at the very top cornice, look at how detailed that is. The acanthus leaves, the egg and dart molding, all carved in marble. It means something, and it's saying something about our progression. You were going to tell us about the Rosettes over there.
Yeah. When I was trying to envision a way that I could transition from this marvelous structure to the handcraft that I'm going to show you later, I thought it would be great to zero in on something small, something achievable in a short amount of time, and that's why I those decorative flowers caught my eye, especially because they're close to the, to our height. They're not way up high. Yep. So when we go back to the workspace, I'll show you how those were shaped.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Well, let's head to your studio, because it's not far from here, where you're going to show us how you do what you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Let's go.
So I've been working with him since like January.
Well, here we are, tucked away on the 8th floor of a building on West 38th Street. This is the wonderful thing about my job, is I get to discover these hidden gems. Look at this wonderful, beautiful space with windows. This is your studio, right?
Yeah. May they all be delightful discoveries.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure some doors you would walk into, you'd never want to walk back into.
I think I've been pretty lucky in that every single obscure space that I've walked into, even if it's ominous at first, like I went to get some gold smelted, like melted into something, and it was not far away from here, but it was like the top floor of this really rickety, scary looking building, and it just kept getting darker and darker and darker until the guy like led me into this basically pitch black room with furnaces, and then in this scary space, he took the gold and he put a flame to it and melted it, and it was I was like, where am I? But it was beautiful. I think I'm very lucky.
Yeah, I hope that will always be the case.
Yeah,
it's certainly the case today.
Yes. Yeah. I can't stop. I'm speaking to you, but my eyes keep being drawn to this beautiful rosette. Look at this. This is. Chris took the image of the rosette from the facade of the library, and you've been working on this for how long, Chris?
8 hours, I'd say.
Wow. And how did it start? Just a block of stone?
Well, here's my explanation of the way that you approach something like this, because since we're all much more accustomed to looking at two-dimensional drawings, photography, we zero in on the outlines of things, right? Like these, if you isolate these units, the zigzag pattern, the round patterns, this is what you'd focus on initially if you were going to draw. If you were I was working from a photograph that I took of the museum and thinking in carving it in stone, but if you were thinking of just drawing it, these outlines would be your starting point. Right? So when you start to work with stone or clay or any other kind of sculpture material, very soon you realize that that's not the starting point, because you need to think about the way it looks like, the topography, sort of. The high points and the low points are a primary concern when you're doing three-dimensional. Because let's say you just had this flat surface and you started inscribing these lines, your pencil lines, your black lines of what you draw. If you just started inscribing that, even if you did a perfect job, you'd be finished and you'd look at your work and say, "What is it's all flat? It's got no power. It's got no drama." And you'd realize that just capturing those outlines is only part of the job, and it's even a later part of the job. You have to first establish the high, like this central part, it projects more than this part. And even this part is not a flat, not a flat surface like this area over here. It's got overlaps. These parts are in front of these seem to tuck underneath. So these things must be established prior to the outlines. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things I learned early on that is part of my teaching, is part of what I share with people who are just getting started in this. Yeah.
One of the things that I am constantly paying attention to when I'm in a lesson, like whether it's a lesson during pottery, where my pottery mentor is showing me how to make a flower pot or watercolor painting or oil painting, is how to look and how to see, because it's amazing. Like, we need to be trained how to do it from the master.
Yeah.
We're so used to, as you said, looking at things. We think we're looking at so much every day, but we've learned to look at things in a certain way, especially now where all these images are flashed before us.
Yeah.
Our brains have been trained to think, this is an advertisement, this is real, this is someone I know, this is a beautiful top, maybe I should look at this because I might want to buy this. So our brains are trained, we're training them to think in a certain way. And then when we're pulled into a situation like this, where now you have to train your brain to see something in a completely foreign way. And that's really hard.
Yeah.
Because you can take, like, I've learned, because I like to, when I'm in a class with other people, I like to watch the other students too. Because what they're doing correctly and what they're doing incorrectly informs me.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing. And I mean, the instructor can take my hand and say, no, you're holding the chisel wrong. But you can't take my brain and go, no, you're looking incorrectly.
Yeah.
You can't actually see what's going on in here. This is, like, I find one of the biggest challenges between instructor and student. You can theoretically tell me, but you don't know what is happening, whether I'm seeing what you're telling me to see.
No, when I teach a group of people, I'm always encouraging them, if you mess up, raise your hand and call us all over so we can all see and learn from your mistake, not just our own mistakes, and all progress a lot faster, because you can only walk down one path at a time. But if 6 people are doing 6 different things, you can actually learn way more and way faster when you share your successes and your mistakes, not just your mistakes, but that's great.
When I think of stone, I often think of, like, the other materials that I've worked with before. Clay being sort of the most manipulative easily, then wood, and then stone. And the thing that makes me kind of scared but also laugh inside is, once it's gone, baby.
Yeah.
You ain't sticking it back. You can't get it back.
Right.
So this thing about the hierarchy of the levels, if you're just sort of chipping away, you could reach a point after 8 hours of thinking, oh shit.
Yeah.
I just took off a ½ inch of stone that needed to be there for this level of the pedal.
And now we'll break for a word from our sponsor, Akimi Epoxies.
Yeah, exactly. Which you can't do here. You're not gluing things back. And in clay, it's so forgiving. You're sculpting.
Yeah.
Oh, you took off the ear, whatever. Take some wet clay, put it back on. With wood, I mean, it's kind of the same as stone, but in stone, it seems so permanent.
Yeah. Well, there are situations where you attach pieces by intent.
Yes.
Like if you're doing a restoration of a building, an old building like the library, they do something called Dutchman. I don't know where they got that expression from, but that means cutting out, like let's say this corner was like mashed and they wanted to like make it look new.
Yeah.
You'd actually take a grinder, a saw, and like cut into it and demo that little segment. Then you'd get a piece optimally from the same quarry, the same original source. You'd glue it in there. So gluing, you're right, and that's the common understanding that with stone, when you remove something, that's it. You've got to find a way. If you make a mistake and remove something that you wish you hadn't, you got to have to redirect or come up with a new design. But they do also manufacture adhesives that, with intent, people glue new pieces in. So that is one escape route. If you do something and you've put months into it, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible to not as easy as with clay, but it happens. And that, when I teach young people, especially teenagers, that's one of the big takeaways, because I don't think to myself, oh, I'm training people to become stone carvers like me because there's all this demand for our services and they'll be able to get employment. No, that's not realistic. So how do you sell it? Like what does it offer to people if they're not going to become full-time stone carving employees? It's all the stuff you learn about life that's transferable to other things. Yeah. So the main misconception is like, oh my God, you can't make a mistake in stone. You have to be perfect. You have to walk this tightrope where anything on either side of this narrow lane is a failure. Okay, first you have to be really prepared and have a plan so that you minimize the possibility that you'll make a mistake. But you also have to acknowledge that it's possible. Mistakes happen. It's not like if a mistake happens, it's when a mistake happens, because they do. So helping kids to overcome breaking a piece off and say, no, just stick with it. We'll figure something out. Make that a low point instead of, I know you meant for that to be a projecting part, but maybe there's some way that could be integrated. And helping them get the courage to continue when they want to walk away and want to say, stone carving is not for me. And that moment at the end, sometimes when people are like, wow, I can't believe this looked like such a disaster to me, and you helped me find a way to bring it to this place where I'm really proud of what I did. That's one of the best moments for me, even if those people are never going to carve stone again, because that'll stick with them when they're, making videos for YouTube, and maybe they, something bad happens, and you're like, oh, it's a failure. No, it's okay.
Well, there is that.
Keep going.
Isn't there that expression? Well, it's not carved in stone.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like, that expression comes from, it's not carved in stone, as in that is the thing that you cannot turn back.
Yeah, it's an assumption that
from. Once it's carved in stone, there's no going back.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is, I think, part of the fear. But you're right. Yeah. I think one of the major things that keeps people from trying new things, I hear this all the time, is, I'm scared I'm going to make a mistake.
Yeah,
and if you're scared you're going to make a mistake, you're never going to try. So
my advice, make a mistake in your first 5 minutes, so you get over that.
You're right. Okay, so where are we at this point? Where are we in this process? Let's have a look at this, because this is so... I love seeing unfinished work.
Yeah.
I love seeing old masters' paintings that were unfinished, like Leonardo da Vinci's half-finished paintings. And this is kind of at that stage where we see this the rough surface of the flat stone. We see where you've taken it down. We see some of your marker lines.
Yeah.
Some pencil lines.
Mm-hmm.
I would just frame this and put this on the wall right now.
Well,
it's so beautiful.
It'll still be unfinished when you leave today.
Yeah.
So even going a little further won't spoil that for us.
Okay.
Let me find.
What are we gonna do
anyway, initially it was all at this. This is the top. This is the high point of the whole composition.
Right here.
Initially, the whole stone was at that level.
Yep.
So I had to create a protection around this area with the chisel, and then bring everything down to this level.
Yep. So it was a circle?
Yeah, I used a compass. You can still see the center point there. So I used a compass to inscribe a circle, chiseled in around it lightly, so that I could break stuff. Everything else couldn't go down, whatever, 3/8 of an inch, so that this would end up projecting. Then I had to make another circle at the boundary of the rest of the composition, and bring these background areas down to the lowest point. That's the lowest point in the composition, is these corners here. So now I have like a frisbee here with a little, burger patty in the middle, just undeveloped.
Yep.
Then you start to zero in and develop it a step further. That's a big part of the carving mentality, is separating parts. And instead of like initially going for some little detail, like when it's just a plain block, no, you develop it in levels, in stages. So I had this big frisbee, and then I had to create this, these little tongues, they're emerging from behind this.
Right.
So
and there's a high point here.
Yeah.
Which is higher than this part. So you're conscious of that, I guess.
Right. It even appears like it's kind of curving around,
Yeah.
like you're seeing the back of it in a way.
Right.
It's an illusion.
Oh yeah.
Those illusions really energize, and it's interesting to reflect on them and to share them with beginners, to say like, overlaps are really cool. They create an illusion and put energy into the piece, because it's no longer this monolithic rock. Now there's this part that you almost feel like you could peel it back and see more of this. If you could peel this back, you'd see more of that. So what are the ways of getting that into your work that make people like, want to stare at it and take pleasure from it,
And there are certain things that Chris is doing here in those moments where there's the curling over, curling under, where these are the subtle nuances that cannot be reproduced by something mold made, because the way a mold works technically is it can't be what's called undercut. Those parts that like curve underneath and curl over top, that doesn't work in a mold.
You won't be able to pull it off.
When you go to pull it out of the mold, the way the geography of the mold has been made, it would just break all those pieces off. So these are the sort of clues when I'm looking at a building and then I see something like this, nerd. This is why walking somewhere sometimes takes twice as long, is because some gargoyle caught my eye and I'm looking at it and I touch it. And when I touch it and I see the projection and it hasn't been undercut, I was like, oh, this was mold made. Because you can technically feel it and see it. And there's the thing, is there's the subtleness of the beauty. There's no shadow there because it was pulled out of a mold, because there's no undercut. Whereas when the carver is doing it by hand, they're really emulating nature, and it's really the shadows that show like the
separation. This looks like it's not attached to that background at all. I mean, if you look like this, you can see that it is, but the main view direction is maybe 60 degrees one way or the other, so you're not going to
lift it up so they can see. You know, and really it's like
get the shadow.
It's when you move. That's the wonderful thing about these things that are carved. You can walk around them, and you can see them from all angles, and that's how you really see their beauty. So now what are you going to do?
Well, I could do the edges of this that's, marked out to look like that.
Sure. Yeah,
I could continue with these curves. I could walk into this flower, but all these things are like 20 minutes, 10 minutes. So it all depends on how much
could I
much time
I would love to see two things. Because are these the tools you're using?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would love to see excavating this, like taking how you would take that away, and then going into here, because I could see this pencil line, and this is where, here's one of those moments, it's right here, Chris has put down a pencil line which will delineate the two petal separation, and it's when this comes out that you have this here, and it's this beauty of now it's starting to really come to life. I mean, the more he does, the more this thing starts to look like it was growing. It's a plant.
Yeah, gets energy.
Yeah. So if that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So you have a mallet. What stone is this, Chris?
Limestone.
This is limestone. Your mallet is made out of?
It's nylon, I think, some kind of plastic. But traditionally they would have been wood. But, with all the smashing against the steel end, the wood falls apart. So actually, nylon is an improvement.
Okay. And then your tools are made of, are they steel?
Well, this part is steel, and some of them are entirely steel. Like this is entirely steel, but they've come up with some new kinds of metal in the last, I don't even know, probably 25, 30 years.
Yes.
So that there's an inserted bit of this, what's called tungsten carbide. That's the actual cutting edge. And for stones like marble and certainly granite, which are much harder than limestone, really the tungsten carbide is essential. With limestone, steel is okay. I like carbide even better, but it can be sharpened sharper, and the edge lasts longer. It doesn't need to be sharpened as frequently as steel.
I mean, these are really sharp.
Not as sharp as a wood carving tool. But
I mean, it's not blunt.
No.
Okay.
So the thing about getting a little area like this out is you have to alternate. You can't go all the way along the line to that corner and then worry about this line, because you'll break off bits. You'll break off stuff this way. So you want to go alternate between establishing this line and establishing this line and working your way into that corner, slowly. Now I'll work a little bit on the surface of the underneath petal or leaf, because there's three surfaces I'm defining: the edges of the upper leaf and the surface of the lower leaf or petal, whatever. Okay. Good. Now this next one. Walk your way in there, little by little. Now I can see that bottom surface. I call that the floor. These are the walls, and this is the floor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have a floor, you have the edge of that pedal, and it's stepped up.
Yeah. Now this is really fun to try to create this curl over effect, which I have not gotten done there yet.
But you have the height there.
Yeah, this is the height of all of these tips.
Right.
And it extends a little bit farther than it needs to at this stage. So I need to kind of take a little bit of material out from here. No, this is a bad pencil. To make that shadow that you have here, for example.
Could we see that, please?
Yeah. Let me just get a bullnose, a curved, a chisel with a curved end. I really love tools. I really love chisels.
Oh, me too.
And my wife is like, don't you already have a chisel like that?
Oh, I know that story.
You need another one?
Yeah,
and I'm
you
like,
do.
well,
Because you never know when you might need it.
just the idea that it will do the job a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
And a little bit quicker, and delights me. So sometimes it's hard to understand, but I'm always enjoying my tools.
I make excuses in my head of why I need a tool.
Yeah.
So one of the ways I justify buying a tool is when I'm in a foreign country.
Yeah.
And I happen to walk into a hardware store or an art supply shop, and I ask to look at whatever tools they have, and then I think, oh, this would make a great souvenir.
I just want to remember my time here. Totally. I want to remember this visit.
I have a bunch of sculpture tools from Florence.
See, this is well, let me get a bigger one. This is a flat chisel. It's got a straight blade and 90-degree corners.
Right.
But then we have some called a bullnose, which is basically the same thing, except it's curved, so there are no corners. If you're trying to define a concave surface, the corners would dig in and make it very difficult to get a nice...
Right, the difference in the shape you can see there. So you're going to use the curved one.
Yeah, since this is if I use the straight, my corners would, and I'll show you like what I mean on one of the finished ones, the corners would be touching
Right.
but not the middle. So you just get these like ugly marks.
Right.
Instead of being able to get a nice, and they also make ones that are gouges, similar to wood gouges.
That's what I would have thought you
Yeah.
would have used, the gouge. I wouldn't have thought this. So I would love to see how you're going to use this for
Yeah.
that.
I'm going to get a better pencil because that pencil is here.
You know, it's so funny because if I was doing this in clay, my instinct is to just use my finger.
Yeah, just curl a slab of clay.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and then to use for the underside to use the curvature of my finger. But I guess this is one of the things when you're so familiar with a medium, these tools become like your fingers. They become the extension of your hands, and this is where I could see it like in another artisan. They become like kind of frantic, like I need that one. It's like we have our fingers on us, so we instinctively just use them. But when you're working with stone, you need the chisel. It is like a finger, and you're like, where did I put that one?
Yeah.
The instinct is, I need that one for this.
I think in Italy, they
Yeah.
call this one the fingernail.
Oh, really?
Like unghia or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, because it looks exactly,
Yeah.
that's what, when you showed me that's why I thought finger.
Yeah.
It looks just like a fingernail to scoop out. Let's see you use your fingernail.
So you see, this is about the amount of the size that I want this surface to be.
Okay.
Only about that much. So I'm going to try to take out a lot of this and leave a nice curved. Where'd my mallet go?
It's right there.
Oh yeah. You can imagine if this chisel had corners that it wouldn't be working the same way. It wouldn't be touching in the middle. Maybe I'll use that big gouge now to go down rather than from corner to corner. I'll go down. There's a bigger one, but this will do.
Oh, in this direction.
Yeah. And then this lobe, this sort of lobe here gets developed actually into three.
Right.
Right, so there's the center. And then two corners, which actually are going to end up getting a little bit shorter.
So you didn't cut that first.
No.
You scooped it out first.
Yeah, the model that I had, I perceived that to be a sub, not as big a shaping as these lower ones, but yeah, okay, so. So this is the edge, right? It's not upper. It is upward facing because it curls, but it's got to transition to being like side facing. You know what I mean? It's upward facing here in the center line, but then it's going to become side facing.
Wait, what do you mean side facing? This?
It's going to become like this edge, which is facing this way.
Oh, I see. This side and this side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's going to go from being up facing. I'm not going to cut anything here, but as I start to cut, it's going to kind of twist. Right? And I don't like these being quite so long as they are, these corners. Make it a little bit. Cut a little bit of that off.
Listen to the sound. This is one of the things I just love about hand tools. The sounds are pleasant.
Yeah. Sometimes I do use power tools. They make a what's called a pneumatic air hammer, which basically is a piston. And instead of hitting the end of the tool with something like this, it's a piston that you hold in your hand, and internally there's a little tiny piece of metal. It's nowhere near as big as a hammer that you'd swing, but because it goes so rapidly, it's very effective. But you need an air compressor to put to activate it, and that makes a lot of noise. And then of course the piston hitting the chisel makes a lot of noise, so it's a trade-off. You know, it's very effective, and I embrace it for certain processes, but you can't listen to music. It's a lot of vibration in your hands, which isn't so pleasant, and it's noisy. So so you know, sometimes I use it, but if I can work, and especially if it's what I consider the right time to be using my own hand power, it's nicer. It's a nicer environment in the workspace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So now you're talking about that undercutting, and this is the process there. You're going to get rid of some of the stuff to create shadow behind the leaf or petal. That's where the mold would get trapped, and unless it was like rubber or flexible material, but it adds a lot to undercut. It adds a lot to the separation and the shadows and the magic that results.
That part is so important. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see it from the surface unless you really look around, and yet it changes everything. What Chris is doing right now, going in behind and taking that stuff out.
Okay.
Wow. Look at that. That's beautiful. So
we were talking about a minute ago the noise of machine tools, and the fact that it's a tension. There's bad parts and good parts to using machine tools. When I need to drill holes, they've been drilling into stone for hundreds of years. You can look in the cloisters at the beautiful architectural decoration from medieval times 1,000 years ago, and you see these perfect holes which are deep, definitely created by spinning a tool.
Really?
Obviously not with electric power, but they had these bows, you know, that would spin the tool, and a handle that would apply pressure while they were doing that. You can still buy those from tool suppliers. I'm not sure if it's more for nostalgia or for, you know, curiosity, or if people actually use them, but you can still get that. I don't have it, but I do have an electric drill, and when I do need to do something like this, I'll gladly embrace that, because while I could do that without a motorized drill, it doesn't seem to add anything. It doesn't add anything to my pleasure of the process. In fact, it takes away. So I embrace electric tools for these kinds of moments. So
that's what you're gonna.
That's what I'm gonna do here.
You're gonna drill a hole in. Okay. Let's see that. This is my idea of a good time.
But like,
wow, that's all.
It's
like, I mean, it made less sound than drilling into wood.
Well, it's limestone. It's pretty soft. If this was granite, I'd probably be at it for another 5 minutes. And have a different kind of cutting material on the bit, like some kind of diamond abrasive, or, you know, very durable, gritty stuff. But this isn't done because you kind of want this, the same way this is like a teardrop.
Yes.
You want to have some extension of that perfect round hole to where the petals like come in contact,
Yeah.
and then they kind of get apart where I just drilled the hole. So I'm going to get a really tiny tool to cut that out. Maybe a tiny hammer to hit it with too. Yeah. So I'll start here where they're almost touching, and just very lightly, basically just trying to get a little scratch going.
Like
And
you work from that end towards
Yeah.
the hole.
now the other side of the cut. Like the same way I did here, I'm not just going to focus on one side because then it gets messy. You want to alternate between the two sides because I'm creating a V channel,
Yep.
which has two sides that come together.
So you're constantly flipping from one
Yeah,
side to the
yeah.
other. You know, my instinct would not be to do that. I guess that's the novice. It would be to carve all the way down on one side and then...
Yeah, there's a lot of intuitive things that are actually the best way to do it, but there's a lot of times when the intuitive way is not as good as the way that you learn later. Like there was a guy who, for years when they would do a high jump, like in the Olympics, they jump face down like Superman.
Yeah.
And some guy at some point decided, I'm going to try flipping over and going facing up. And he jumped much higher than anybody else. And then it's counterintuitive, right? You wouldn't think that running up to the bar and somehow twisting so you're facing up. It's counterintuitive. It's not the way you'd think to do it, but it's much more effective. So you don't want to make this too big or make this separation too... There's a balance between the empty space and the full space, like the black and white. It's important not to make this too big, too separated.
And even just that little bit is so effective. Like even already, look at how that petal is just singing. Like, beautiful. And that was just a tiny bit of removal.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you didn't go way down into here. You just the surface.
Yeah, yeah. There's a whole thing going on here in the middle that I'd have to refer to my picture, but
Yes.
it's still waiting to be developed.
Yep.
That's the process is creating preliminary forms.
Yes.
And then going in and developing them further, rather than what you might think of if you didn't have the background, where I'm just going to go straight for that, from a straight plane, go straight to the details there. No, before you go to the details in here, create this little button.
Yep.
And then enrich it,
Yep.
develop, enhance it, add to it. But first, to have that makes everything a lot more orderly. To go for one of these and then go for the next one, and the next one isn't as smart as to create this entire surface and then develop it in a layered fashion. Yeah, that's one thing you learn when you have the opportunity to be trained by experts rather than figuring it out for yourself. You could figure stone carving out for yourself, but you wouldn't be able to create a team that could erect a building like the library from self-taught people.
Right.
It's like an orchestra. You could have self-taught, you could teach yourself to play violin, and I'm sure a lot of people do in amazing ways, but that they'd be able to form an orchestra and perform Beethoven symphony, that probably wouldn't happen.
Where did you learn, Chris?
I learned at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, which is a amazing Gothic, neo-Gothic building in Upper West Side, Morningside Heights, Manhattan, near where I grew up.
Yep.
And they have been under construction on and off for 130 years. And they stopped in 1941, and when in 1979, when I was in 7th grade at the Cathedral School, in elementary school, which is like right on the grounds of the cathedral, they started a new campaign to try to finish it or make progress. And they found that there were no people available who had the training, who had the skills, who were ready to be employed and form a workforce, form a team like what I just described to do it. So they realized that they'd have to create a training program. They'd have to bring in masters from England and France and teach neighborhood people to do these ancient skills.
And that's what they did? They brought people over?
They did. Yeah.
And then were you recruited as a kid?
No,
Well,
I saw it happening because I was in 7th grade and still really focused on academics and wanted to make my parents proud by getting good grades and foreign language, math, whatever, traditional academics. And I saw it, but I wasn't like, oh, this is my future. I was just like, oh, that's cool. Then I stayed with academics through high school and always thinking that was, everybody else is doing that, so that's the thing to do. Going on to college and still hoping that, nothing's really like lighting me up about academics, but that seems to be what everybody's doing, so I'll just keep my fingers crossed, hope I'll find something. And even after college, it was like, I don't know, I can't see myself sitting at a desk doing problems, writing papers. I don't want this anymore. So I got the courage to sort of step outside of what I thought was the one lane that was acceptable and promoted in our culture, education, and dominantly. So I started to think, well, maybe tools, maybe materials, maybe building and construction. So I did a little construction, like contemporary construction, not traditional. And I realized it's true. I do like handling materials and tools and making things and spending my days on my feet, in that manner. So that led me, because there were some things about that I didn't like, because I felt like I wanted a piece of raw material and I wanted to transform it. On a construction site, it's very challenging. I'm not taking anything away from it, but it's more like assembling components, that are already shaped. So I remembered what I had seen as a young boy at the cathedral, and I thought that really might be the right direction for me, and I applied and was persistent, and eventually they gave me an opportunity. And as soon as I started doing it, I was like, oh yeah, I think this will really be great. And look at the cathedral. It's got so much stuff unbuilt that needs to be, but it wants to be completed. So I thought that would be my whole career, would be working on the cathedral. Unfortunately, they changed their philosophy to embrace more robotics and mechanization, and my job changed. I was only on the apprenticeship for 2 years, and I quit because this thing that had lit up my passion made me feel optimistic about adulthood and being, working, was changing, and they were moving away from that. So I said, well, I don't know. There's no other cathedrals under construction that I think I can apply for continuing what I'm doing, but somehow I'll find a way to keep doing this thing. And it hasn't been easy because there isn't a huge demand, and sometimes it's a long time between projects. But I've been able to spend the last 35 years as a stone carver.
Wow.
And 10 years ago, I decided I wanted to start sharing this whole tradition with people and teaching and running training programs. And I established a nonprofit organization, which is now I'm able to spend time with other people who are having the same kind of experience of discovering something really that has meaning to them and exciting. So I feel like it's a really wonderful thing. And
what's the organization called?
Pellitieri Stone Carvers Academy.
Okay, so I have a request. If you're one of these landlords, if you have been fortunate enough to inherit one of these buildings here in New York City, and you're sitting on the fence about whether you should have something restored cheaply and quickly, easily, or it's made out of stone, find him. He'll do the work for you. It's going to take a lot longer. It's not going to cost the same thing as having something poured into a mold. But you will be doing two things. You will be doing justice to the people that did the original work, who took pride in that work, and you will be employing someone who really asked the questions about why this should be alive and who's working to keep it alive. And that requires patrons.
Yeah.
It requires, it really does.
You'll be playing a role
Yeah.
in the continuation of a tradition which has been an obsession of the human species for thousands of years,
Yes.
and which is currently like hanging by a thread, ready to be replaced by robots, ready to be replaced by staring at screens and sedentary life. This is what we were designed as a species, or created, depending on your... We were created to manipulate tools and shape materials.
Yeah.
It was part of our survival
That's
for
why
thousands
we
of
have
years.
these 10
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
That's why they work the way they work. And so I have two more pleas. I have the pleas to the landlord. I have a plea to all the young people out there that have this big question mark of, what do I want to do? Think outside the box, think outside the classroom, think
Yeah.
outside the offices, and if you're tempted, try things out.
Right.
Take a course with Chris, like a workshop, see if you like this, because maybe this is something that will just really take you.
Yeah.
And then you'll be entering into a trade that really needs people. And the
Yeah.
third plea I have is to the majority of people. We live in this beautiful city where the modern, the advanced, sits right next to the old. The beautiful buildings that are designed today and being put up all over the city are sitting next to the people that came over from Europe that put their work into the stone and then left and went back.
Yeah.
And you will be doing a service to that work if you just look at it. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
When I'm walking around, I'm always looking up. Every day, everywhere I go, I have a policy. If I'm on the sidewalk, I'm looking forward or I'm looking up. And there's so much that I see. Even in my little neighborhood, there's new stuff. And sometimes I'll see something new. Like the other day, I'm learning how to play the harp. I was really,
I think I saw that
really
on one of your
struggling
videos.
with something that my teacher said. And I was so frustrated with myself. And because I have this policy of only looking up or looking straight when I'm walking on the sidewalk, I was fuming about something. And on 74th Street, and I just turned 74th approaching Columbus, and there, carved in stone, was a figure on its side playing the lyre. And it was like it was speaking to me.
Cheered you up.
It was saying something to me. It said, keep working hard at it. And
Yeah,
it was this
yeah.
moment, it had to be divinely planned
Yeah.
for that to happen.
This
But
is what I tell my students. Your teacher started out like you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You compare yourself to a master, and it can make you feel like, oh, it's hopeless. I'll never be good at this. But you have to understand that your teacher started out in your shoes with the same results or worse,
Yeah.
and took a lot of time and dedication. But it can be fun along the way. It's not like it doesn't get to be fun until you're a master.
Yeah.
The whole process is fun as you see yourself improving.
Yeah.
Yeah. From day 1 to day 2 is progress, and it's exciting, and it's invigorating, and makes you feel excited to come back the next day.
Completely. I would love to look at a couple of things in here. I have some questions.
Sure,
Did
sure.
you make that little face over there?
I did, yeah. That's my Hercules face.
Let's bring this over. I was staring at this when Chris was getting set up, and I thought, look at this. Is this limestone as
Yeah.
well?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I was inspired by a sculpture at the Metropolitan, which is itself a copy of a sculpture from an earlier era.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times these really masterpieces get recycled, you know? So Renaissance artists would copy classical Greek, well actually the Romans would copy the Greeks,
Right.
and Renaissance artists would copy both of those. So, and then I ended up copying too. So, and I think in contemporary art, copying is like, oh, no, everything must be like brand new, original thought. But I'm not embarrassed to copy ancient things or things that I'm excited about.
Well, part of this Western art practice is you learn by copying. I mean, I have no interest in entering the modern art, contemporary art world. I don't understand it, and I don't want to understand it. but I'm learning how to paint and draw, and so much of the work is copying. You find a master painting or a drawing, and you do a master copy, and it's by copying that you really learn.
Yeah, and you can't copy, like, you do put something into it that wasn't there before, or leave something out that was there before. You couldn't help it.
Yeah. So over here I noticed some lettering. I started doing calligraphy when I was a kid, and then I got into doing chalkboards and signage and became fascinated with typography. I learned something, which I don't know if it's true, but I'm assuming it is, that the serif on a letter originates in stone carving. That these lines are they the entry point to the letter? Like, to the chisel
it solves
mark.
a problem. It solves a problem for a stone carver, because you can do lettering without serifs, inscribed in stone.
Yes.
But it's a lot harder to make a nice, clean ending surface, because what you have here are two surfaces. The channel has two surfaces that are like a V that come together in a crease.
Right.
But at the end of each stroke, there's a little triangle surface that ends it. And it's a lot harder to make a nice, clean triangle ending surface without those two extensions, without those two little whiskers, that.
And that's the chisel.
Yeah.
The chisel goes in there, and you cut away to create this end.
Yeah.
Like right here, you could see it so well on this E right here. You have the middle line of the E, and just imagine what it would look like without the serif. It's the serif that finishes it, and it's on the end of these letters. And I think it's fascinating to know that transition, because these letters were being carved into stone like this since Roman times.
Yeah, I don't know how much paper they had then, or how much of it lasted, that we have samples of writing on paper. I think the samples of writing on stone are really what we, as calligraphers on paper, that's what we're referring to, is more the record of the stone carvers.
Right. But that's something that I think most people have no idea about, that the serif on a letter, when you're reading the newspaper, those lines on these like in type today, their origin goes back to the chisel that you saw Chris sort of hammer into the stone as the ending of all of these Roman capitals.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's ancient. It's ancient, but it's still all around. And we know the medium. We know stone.
Yeah.
We see it on the beach when it washes up on the shore, and then we walk into it when we're going into a library.
It's my mission, because we're surrounded by the product of the stone carving tradition, but the process is a total mystery.
Yeah.
So part of my mission since establishing this nonprofit is to demonstrate, to show, to welcome people in, to try it, to take away the mystery and bring it back, re-energize it.
Well, good luck.
Thanks.
Good luck. And everyone out there, if you have any interest at all, please look them up. Pellitieri Stone Carvers
Academy.
Academy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Sure.
Thank you.